अस्सलाम वालेकुम, सत श्री अकाल, नमस्कार, आदाब, गुड मॉर्निंग, गुड इवनिंग एवरीवन। हम यूजुअली जो जेके टीवी है उसके ऊपर कश्मीर के हवाले से मुख्तलिफ प्रोग्राम करते हैं और आप देखते होंगे। आज का जो प्रोग्राम है थोड़ा सा आप यूँ कह लीजिए कि एक रवायत से हट के प्रोग्राम है। ये एक एजुकेशनल प्रोग्राम है आप सबके लिए जिसमें आप लर्न करेंगे और लर्न करेंगे आप जो दुनिया में नई करेंसी है कि क्रिप्टो करेंसी उसके बारे में हम आपको कुछ मालूमात मुहैया करेंगे कि क्रिप्टो करेंसी क्या होती है, ये कैसे बनाई जाती है, इसकी क्या इम्प्लीकेशंस हैं, इसका क्या फ्यूचर है, ये तमाम चीज़ें। और इन तमाम चीज़ों पे गुफ्तगू करने के लिए आई हैव वन एक्सपर्ट ऑफ दिस फील्ड एक्चुअली विद मी एंड ही इज एनास्टोयोसिस. I don't think so. I'm pronouncing your name correct. I beg your pardon if I'm not doing it.
Anastasios will do, but everything else is fine too.
Thank you, and thank you very much for joining us today, and welcome to my show.
Thank you, and hi to your global audience.
So let's start from a very, very basic things I want to know first from you. What is cryptocurrency?
Right. It is a It is a digital asset, so it is something a little bit spiritual, if you want. It's a digital asset that you control with your username and password, just like you control everything else. But because your username and password are, in fact, what is called in cryptography keys, they are digital keys, they allow you to do much more than just control it.
Okay. And what is data mining? How you create a cryptocurrency coin? How you do that?
All right. So we don't call it data mining. It's a different field. We call it mining, right? Or cryptocurrency mining.
Yeah.
And usually what you're trying to do with any cryptocurrency is you're trying to keep the so-called assets secure. It may be these coins, as we say, the Bitcoin. It could be a token. There is also other digital objects like digital contracts or so-called smart contracts. So what you're trying to do in the ecosystem is to keep them safe. And the process by which you keep them safe, usually we call it mining, because the original mining that was introduced to the world around 10 years ago, it was meant to be the equivalent of mining for precious metals, let's say. When there isn't gold or silver or the other precious metals or rare metals, the reason they have a high price is because you have to put a lot of resources into extracting them. So the inventor of Bitcoin, he used a lot of technologies that were known around 10 years ago, but he put them together in a way that would make it difficult to create Bitcoins. Okay. It would be as difficult as the participants would make it to be. So if there was one participant with one computer, it would be too easy. If it was 1 million participants with one computer, it would be much harder. And right now, there are millions of participants with perhaps billions of computers.
Okay. So whenever someone is trying to search about cryptocurrency online, usually we got two kinds of information. One, that cryptocurrency is designed or did through mining, and that mining process is a little longer than other creating a software or creating an app. So number one thing, it would be difficult to mine all those codes together for one cryptocurrency. That's why it is more secure. Number one thing, I'm just giving you information what we got from internet, so you can give us your expert opinion on it. And second important thing, when I was searching about it, I got to know that cryptocurrency is like only Bitcoins. If you want to make a new cryptocurrency, you have to add a token with that code. So you have to, for example, buy a Bitcoin one, which is $8,200 or something, and then you can add few codes to just add into it as to make a specific as a token. So how it works? Like you have to buy a code, then you have to redesign a code, or you can buy or you can create a new code from the beginning. What do you exactly need to do?
Actually, you have all of the options you mentioned, and perhaps even more.
Okay.
A lot of the Bitcoin competitors are exact copies of Bitcoin. And that means that the only way to mine them is to buy a lot of computers and have them running 24/7 at the maximum capacity and producing maximum heat and maximum noise. But then again, after a few years, humanity decided that maybe we should try alternatives, and Ethereum, which was mostly a copy of Bitcoin and is right now the #2 currency, is thinking of switching to so-called staking. Staking is not the intensive process of mining.
Mm-hmm.
Staking is only requires you to be online, and when the millions or perhaps billions of users of Ethereum will be online at the same time, this already secures their coins. So it is from I would call it 1 million times more economic, more ecological to be staking. So there are coins that have been designed exclusively to be staked, but even that was not how can I put it? There is a conflict between centralization and ecology right now. The more centralized something is, the more ecological it is. Okay. All of this operation that's happening around Bitcoin, you must have seen the headlines that perhaps Switzerland, Bitcoin is consuming as much electricity as Switzerland, or things like that. You may have seen them in the press. All of that would go away if Bitcoin was centralized. If Bitcoin was centralized, we wouldn't have millions and billions of computers trying to, let's say, crack the code, trying to produce new Bitcoins. We would have one computer, even, let's say, your mobile phone, and it would be controlling the entire network. How it would be controlling the entire network? Because you would have a special password, let's say. And then if we all trusted you, mm-hmm. then we could get rid of all of the mining infrastructure around the world, all of the other computers that secure the network. But because we don't all trust you or me or any other player in the ecosystem, that's why we have decentralized versions, if you want, of an electronic currency. Otherwise, the electronic currency could be very centralized.
When we are talking about decentralized currency, I have two questions for you. When you're talking about Bitcoin, for example, is going to be controlled by a couple of people, a community, or might be a bunch of people who are doing coding. So at the end of the day, when you are a bunch of people doing something, they are centralized as well. And they are centralized might be in a different way. You can propagate in a different way when you want to control those 20 people, 25 people, or might be 100 people, whatever amount you have people. But I want to know, for example, in Bitcoins, they have community of 20 people, which we believe that they are decentralized. They are decentralized, but they are controlled by different people, might be different companies. How exactly this decentralization mean in currency? Because whenever you're talking about bank, we exactly know the structure of bank. We exactly know the structure of their business. But Bitcoin, we don't know the structure of their business. That's why most of people, they are very reluctant when they are investing into Bitcoin.
Right. So decentralization is a spectrum. Bitcoin, as you may have heard again, claims to be the most decentralized project. This may be true, that being the most decentralized does not make it perfectly decentralized. As you correctly said, the people who code have power. And most people, including so-called experts like me, I mean, there are much better experts, but trust me, even them, we depend on those coders. In Bitcoin is the so-called Bitcoin core team. It's a central group of hackers who, through through ordinary and extraordinary measures, are controlling Bitcoin code. Now, a very vital part of this decentralization is, of course, open source. The infrastructure for all of Bitcoin, all of it has been published to the public. So the poorest little child, in a corner of the world with a computer which is 15 years old at school, could be hacking, and I mean it in a good way, could be producing and checking Bitcoin code right now, because it has all been published. However, having the code published doesn't make it decentralized. The main decentralized aspect in Bitcoin,
make it more vulnerable when you're publishing it.
You see, of course, as a kind of a computer worker myself, security is always a consideration, and there is a concept which mostly we're trying to get rid of. It's called security through obscurity. Like, you're trying to make things secure by hiding everything. But the open source model, as most people will know by now, has been very successful, right? It has created the #1 operating system in the world, Linux, and even what we're using right now, this Chrome browser. Even though it's not decentralized, there is a very central control by Google on the Chrome browser. It is an open source project. There is no secret in Chrome. And many projects have copied Chrome, actually, including one of the Google competitors. Apple has copied Chrome. So the decentralization.
One just extension question on that. So what I gather so far from your information, that Bitcoin or any kind of cryptocurrency, it is difficult to create because you have to put equal amount of work to create a new currency than to copy that currency. Is that right? So for example, if you want to copy or if you want to cheat a code or want to translate or transcribe that code, you need to have like same kind of computers, you need to have same kind of cores, or might be you have same time you need to copy that entire code, Bitcoin, to create a new one. So mining process is actually little rigorous to translate or to might be copy or to cheat. Is that right?
Well, maybe it's about time we introduce another word from the Bitcoin sector. It's the word ledger, which means an accounting book.
Okay.
So when I'm saying things like I'm trying to earn, like, let's say you're paying me for this show, and you should be paying the very good looking people you have on the show. If you were going to send me 1 Bitcoin, it would end up in this so-called Bitcoin ledger. It's this the whole Bitcoin mining operation and coding. It all boils down to maintaining a very big book where it stands that you send me 1 Bitcoin, and because it's in that big book, the so-called source of truth, the single source of truth, because it's in that book, then everybody in the world will believe that actually you did send me that Bitcoin and now it's mine and not yours. Otherwise, if there was any doubt, you could, among other things, do the so-called double spend. You could send me 1 Bitcoin, and then you could send the same Bitcoin to another person, and to another, and to another, and to another. And let's say buy 10 Apple MacBooks instead of buying 1 with your Bitcoin. So
let me take you to another. I think we already cover all the security area. So let's talk about the price. How we gonna set up price of a Bitcoin? How they set up price of a cryptocurrency? Because when we are talking about the prices, we usually know that bank have a different kind of mechanism to set up a price of any like node or any currency. So usually they have amount of gold in their stock, so they have to buy, like they have to print same amount of currency to just equalize those things. So but Bitcoin is something which is very independent, very decentralized, and we don't know who is setting up prices. We don't know how he's going to spend it. We don't know the fluctuation in the market. So what exactly those we need to know those factors who are deciding price of any cryptocurrency, and how they get infected or impacted by different economic crises or recessions?
Right. So the price mechanism is in Bitcoin is a purely market-based mechanism. It would make any great capitalist, including the fictional ones in Wall Street, in the Wall Street movies, it would make them cry with joy, because it's pure market operation, and being pure market means it's open to speculation and manipulation, right? And in fact, we have seen in the American financial markets, we have seen that Bitcoin has had limited acceptance because the authorities again and again, they think they're skeptical of how susceptible to manipulation the Bitcoin pricing mechanism is. So it is pure market economics. If I want the Bitcoin, I go out to the open market, which usually means 20, 30 companies, which we call exchanges. Yeah, years ago, we would call them brokers. You go to your broker to buy McDonald's stock. The same way, you go to the exchange to buy Bitcoin. The Bitcoin has, if it has any Bitcoin, if it owns any, it has earned it on the open marketplace. All right, it has made an offer to somebody, an offer that they could not resist. So somebody sold his Bitcoin to the exchange, and you're buying it from the exchange, making the exchange an offer you cannot resist. They cannot resist. Now, because a lot of the Bitcoin is in the hands of a few people, which are affectionately called whales, the big animal of the sea, it allows those people to more or less manipulate the market. The absolutely biggest whales may not be manipulating the market. They may be playing more fairly. There are these Facebook founders who got thrown out of Facebook, the Winklevoss brothers, I think their name is. Famously, they are big Bitcoin whales. They control maybe, 500,000 Bitcoin or whatever, quite a big number. And so a few of the whales are well known, and they probably play clean and fair. But then as you move down the ladder, there are entities who have, let's say, between 1,000 and 50,000 Bitcoin, who may be manipulating the market. Most probably are.
Okay.
Because if they sell their 50,000 pieces at once, because nobody is trying right now, the price is around $10,000. Nobody's trying to buy 50,000 Bitcoins, right? If one of these whales sells at once his 50,000 Bitcoins, the price is going to drop massively. And we have seen historically, let's say in the last 3 years, we have seen the price drop, I think it was 89%.
Okay.
We don't necessarily believe that was whale activity. We believe that was probably bubble activity. The people who joined the Bitcoin network, they were trying to make money with an asset that will never go down, just like housing 10, 15 years ago. Housing will never go down, right? Housing in Europe, housing in London, it will never go down. So people bought it to extreme highs.
For example, knowing that this currency have some kind of relation or might be negative or positive, any kind of relation with big whales in the market, the most important thing, because what I'm trying to actually figure out, whenever we are talking about decentralization of any currency, that also means that it's going to be controlled by local people or different kind of communities. Then more decentralization of currency means the collapse of capitalism. That would be like another implication you can draw from this discussion. What about oppressed nations, for example, Kashmir, and people who do not have currencies, and they are depending currencies of different other nations, can they create any kind of cryptocurrency and make it more sustainable according to their own market, and how they can do it?
Right. So if we go back thousands of years, we know that people try to escape oppression by creating local currencies or community currencies. And in fact, from time to time, those were even sponsored by governments. Governments wanted to see local development by sponsoring local coins. But then when the local coins became a threat to central government, then the governments, one way or another, made them illegal. I think the latest this has happened was in Austria, like 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. But we currently, even before Bitcoin, we know there are other local currencies operating in the UK, in a few places. I think in Bristol, I think they have the Bristol pound, and there is this famous story that the Bristol mayor tried to get his salary in Bristol pounds, not in UK pounds. I think it's a story from Bristol. So when we were talking about the price, we could have started with the so-called use case. Why would you want Bitcoin? So we covered one reason, which is never going to go away. You would want it in order to profit. You would you would want it in order to buy into the bubble and then start pumping the bubble bigger and bigger, right? And you hope to sell when it's before the bubble bursts. But another very important, some would say the most important use case of Bitcoin is when you want to exchange value uncensored. You don't want the government of the UK or the CIA or your local cooperative bank little obsessive compulsive accountant. You don't want any of those entities to get between you and the transaction. And we know that oppression works among other things.
Let me just add you on another thing. So whenever we are talking about like normal currency and how capitalism working with those currencies, and currency is a kind of tool to control different kind of areas in market, or is a kind of oppression as well. Whenever you're talking about a big spectrum of capitalism and how currency work with capitalism, but whenever you're drawing a comparison between a currency, a local currency or other currency, and a Bitcoin, you have one similarity which I just noticed from your discussion, that both of them, they have certain level of control from someone. For example, in case of currency, it is controlled by different banks, it's controlled by different big economies and big whales in the market. And Bitcoins, they are controlled by some kind of whales who are going to control to set the price of it. So for example, any oppressed nation like Kashmiri people or Palestinian people, they want to make their own coins. They want to draw, like lot of people trying to make their own coins, or some people from Kashmir start a new coin company. After a while, they are going to depend actually on big markets. For example, on Indian market, on Pakistani market, on China market, or any other big markets who have more Bitcoins. So they are going to decide the price of those people who have only few coins or only like small whales or small fishes in the market. So how you exactly will going to describe that cryptocurrency is little different concept than a normal currency. It is more independent. It is more like independent for oppressed people, especially, to invest into it. How exactly it is different?
Right. So there are a couple of questions in there. Maybe I should backtrack to part of the previous one, which was how to create one.
Okay.
Without going into too much detail, we have to observe two things. First of all, you can create a new digital currency, a new Bitcoin, if you will. You can create it just by copy and paste, like we do on our computers every day. You can copy and paste everything about the Bitcoin code, except for the so-called the very initial Bitcoin, if you will. There is a secret in all blockchains. It's called the Genesis block in Bitcoin, and I guess in many other Bitcoins called the Genesis block. So when you copy and paste a currency, you're still left with the possibility to change the initial coin, and then it's going to be a completely different coin. It's going to be a completely different ledger, let's say your own ledger. So that happens only with a copy and paste. So it shouldn't be too difficult for anybody. Okay. Each of us could be creating their Anastasio coin, Junaid coin, and then you would have to secure that coin. Then the moment you open it up to the world, anybody with a stronger computer than yours could interfere with your operations because of the way Bitcoin works. It's based on the majority so-called hash power, the majority computational power. So if you want to sidestep attacks on your coin, then your second best bet is the Ethereum network, because the Ethereum coin is also a platform to create other coins, which we call them tokens.
Tokens, yes.
So if you were desperate, let's say because you can make money quickly, okay, that's one source of desperation. I can make money quickly. Sorry. Yeah, just let me finish this.
Okay.
If you were desperate to create a coin that would be secure, you would do it on the Ethereum network, just like thousands of other entities have done. Both companies and individuals even have created coins on so-called tokens on Ethereum.
Does not it work like when you are creating a new cryptocurrency coin, you have to set amount of it? For example, if Bitcoin people, they are creating a new cryptocurrency, they can, in initial stages, they can just make 100 Bitcoins or 200 Bitcoins, just you have to put into that code. Or you have to create everyone separately to make it work. And then token, another question on token. So token, when I was researching about it, I got to know that token is only some kind of codes you have to add after a cryptocurrency. For example, if you have a cryptocurrency code, which is a 1,000 long code or some kind of thing, and I'm just adding 15 new lines after that, it will call token. Does it right?
Well, I mean, the most perhaps precise way to call this is that a token is just a couple of lines of programming code on the Ethereum network. And those lines usually say two things: create 1 billion Anastasios coin and send all of these Anastasios coin to my Ethereum address. These two lines essentially create a token on Ethereum. And by the time you have a token on Ethereum, you have a global coin, which is very secure. Whatever is secure in the Ethereum network, which is billions of machines, more or less, Ethereum is a bit less secure than Bitcoin, but not real. I mean, it's not a very realistically difference. It's almost as unlikely you can attack Ethereum like it is to attack Bitcoin. So the moment you have created those two lines in Ethereum, like create so many and give them all to me, by that time you have a token. And to make this token an operation, an actual living operation, you either are going to create a marketing campaign, convince other people to pay you to give it to them, or you're going to airdrop it, as we say. We are going to give some of it for free to people who express interest. So you create the token on Ethereum with two lines. Like I said, it will cost you not even $1. It will cost you like 10 cents because you have to run this little program on the Ethereum platform.
Okay.
You need a few cents to run it. The moment you run it, this token exists and will be there for all eternity, if you will.
Okay.
So then you set up a website, or you do shows like this one in order to explain what the coin is about, what the token is about, and who should be using it and why.
Okay, back to that oppression and oppressor people who are might be going to try to create a new currency. And I'm going to add one question from Ifat Abbas as well. When oppressed people or any oppressed nation want to create a new cryptocurrency, they have two different kind of risk which we can see or which we can foresee at this moment. Number one, who is going to set up their market price of their currency. For example, if Kashmiri people want to create, because they do not have any currency, and they want to create, like not only Kashmiri people, like many people from Kashmir, we cannot say like all nation is going to create one currency. Might be there will be different companies who are going to create new currency in Kashmir. And for example, if we create new currency, cryptocurrency in Kashmir, we are going to set up price of that cryptocurrency 5 mangoes or 6 mangoes. I'm just giving you an example. But after a while, there are different big fishes in that market of cryptocurrency in India and Pakistan. They are going to set up overprice because over market is depending on the big whales. That's how like it's naturally work in capitalism. Number one thing which I want to know, how oppressed people, if they are going to create a currency, how they will be able to set up their market price of their currency. Number one thing. And number second, in capitalism, we are very sure that who is accountable of doing all this money transactions and how money depend on those banks. And whenever we have any losses, at the end of the day, we are going to blame those big banks. So might be we are not going to get anything back from them, but we can blame someone in capitalism. In case of cryptocurrency, because we don't know who is setting price of cryptocurrency, we don't know who is accountable of it. We don't know what is centralized mechanism behind it. So who will be accountable at the end of the day if someone lost his investment in cryptocurrency?
Right. So I will start with the second part, perhaps.
Okay.
The accountability is a function of community, actually. It's a function of education. It's a function of governance, as we call it. You can have as good governance in a community project like we're talking about, or better than what the United States has with the Federal Reserve and Donald Trump. So I would say, in order for a community project to succeed, or even a company project, community and governance and education comes first, and then the coin. If you go the other way around and you say, okay, I will create my mango coin because I love mangoes and I can make money off mangoes. If you take that approach without anybody having any idea beforehand, and actually nobody wanting to join you because they think you're just trying to rip them off, it will be a failure. So what we are trying to build, I'm talking in the collective sense here, both the activists around the world, as well as perhaps whoever appears on this show. What we're trying to build is education and a healthy community basis to take power back, actually, to not only to get rid of oppression, because, as you probably know, I live in Scandinavia. In Scandinavia, everything is fine and dandy. We don't have so-called oppression, but in fact, we have. We don't have oppression, but we don't have power. Our powers, especially
ways in many shapes, yeah.
Yeah. So our powers have been depleted. Especially in the Corona times. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to take some power back, and we're trying to do it first of all through education and community outreach and healthy governance. So if that does not protect you, nothing will. Now, about the pricing, let's say an initial pricing mechanism, there is a brilliant idea from the cryptocurrency world. It's called burning. There were some currencies which, when somebody created, like I was describing to you with a copy and paste, let's say, whoever created them, he said, I will give it to you, and I don't want your money. But I want you to burn your money. So he was asking, there are some special addresses in Bitcoin and all the other coins. There are special addresses which nobody can use. They are called burn addresses, like putting your money in fire and burning. You know, it's not coming back. So you can actually bootstrap. You can start your coin by burning either another coin, if for whatever reason, your community has other coins, or they can even burn, and I don't know how legal it is, their local currency. They can actually take a big bonfire, throw in some rupees or some rubles or some US dollars and burn them. And such a community event is what builds the trust around the value of that thing, believe it or not. The other way, which is again trust-based, is that you bootstrap your currency with community services. So you airdrop, you give everybody an equal share of your currency. You give everybody, 10 Trump coins, and you build a platform where they can use some community service. Maybe it will be taking care of the elderly, or what's called, kindergarten things. You know, those casual jobs that almost anybody can do. Mm-hmm. If you build such a database of work, people who can do this work and people who would pay for this work, and if you could come to an agreement that they would get paid 1 Trump coin for 1 hour of kindergarten work, or I'm missing actually the right word here, the au pair thing, taking care of children. If you could set a price and the community was okay with that, you have already bootstrapped the system.
Okay.
Then the next steps, which could be again speculative. So maybe somebody will try to buy a lot of these Trump coins in order to sell them later at a higher price. Okay, speculative effects will still be possible, but you will have a healthy base for your coin and your community.
Okay, we got it. There are 2 more questions from Ifat Abbas. So, Ifat Abbas, your question about speculation, it's based on speculation, mere speculation, we can say that, in the market. And that's why most of people feel insecure to invest in these kind of money. Ifat Abbas, I believe, whatever I got information so far and understand from our expert, I believe that coin is secure, but market value is set up by community people who are going to control or going to be part of that Bitcoin. But I believe, whatsoever I understand so far from the conversation, that Bitcoin, whenever you want to invest or want to be part of it, you need to be known about it. You have to understand all the implications and all like future kind of speculation or part of this kind of coding, or you might need to understand a little bit about the coding before going to invest into Bitcoins. You cannot just be a layman and buy coins, and then after that you will be out of every option. I have one question for you. It's going to be last question for today's show. We might gonna have more shows with you in future because we need to understand, and this is actually an educational type of thing. We need to understand first, and then we're gonna talk about a more futuristic approach, what we can take about cryptocurrency. I want to know why it is important to have a cryptocurrency controlled by only some people or not by a company. For example, whenever I was trying to search, and I think I told you on that day when we were talking about it, that when I was trying to search about cryptocurrency, I saw many companies. There are around 900 different companies around the world, and there are more in making actually, and a lot from India, there are a lot of from China. So all of them, they're creating new coins, and none of their coins are different than Bitcoin people. Most of them, they buy coins from Bitcoin, and then after that they add some tokens, and then they're just relaunching into the market. That means another thing, that all these coins which we have in the market at this moment, all of them, they are created by Bitcoin people. None of new companies ever created any new coin in the past. They are just buying coins from Bitcoin people, adding some codes into it, and just reselling into the market. And that's going to give me another kind of a risk issue in the market. For example, I am going to make a coin tomorrow, and after a few days, someone is going to steal my coin or might be going to buy my coin. And after that, he can just add a couple of new codes, and they're going to launch their own currency. And it means the most of the market is going to be depending on existing those codes for a long period of time, and is going to be retranslated every new day. And after might be 20 or 10 years or 20 years, all this market is going to be have like bunch of coins and translate it into million of other coins. And at the end of the day, every person going to have their own coins with their own company and just have another token added into the previous one. Am I right?
I think you're wrong. I mean, I personally am going to have 100 coins of my own. So if you multiply it by 7 billion people, that would make it 700 billion coins, not 7 billion. You know, the proliferation of coins is, of course, a concern. And it is more a concern that most of the people who created coins were scammers. There's no other way to say, you know, there are no two ways about it. Most of the coins you have seen or are seeing right now are probably scams. I think somebody evaluated coins from the last 5 years, like 900 of them, I think, or whatever, and found that only 5% delivered any value. What the other 95% were, they were marketing schemes. They would say, okay, I will create the gold coin. It will make it easy to own digitally gold. Okay. So even if your country does not allow you to own gold, don't worry. Buy my gold coin and you will have gold. You know, okay. So coins like that came and went quite quickly. I mean, they, especially during the crazy days of maybe 2017-18, it was possible to collect money from, unfortunately, you know, very opportunistic investors. You could collect money in 1 month. You could collect millions in 1 month of marketing and then disappear. And it happens so many times, it's not even funny, as they say, but actually I find all of these things very funny. People have been marketing their coin, the mango coin, the gold coin, the potato coin, and they have, when they got the money they wanted, they disappear. That's very, very true. In whatever we're trying to do as a community here, we're not trying to take anybody's money. Like I said before, either we're going to be taking people's labor, so we will commit some hours of work for the coin, or especially on a larger scale, let's say if there's going to be a Russia, China, India coin, if there's going to be a cryptocurrency from a union of countries, probably the mechanism will be burned. They will take one big pile of rubles, one big pile of rupees, yuans, whatever, and they will burn them. So I don't. It's not the intention of these shows to get people to buy something, especially to get rich quick or to get out of their financial trouble.
Exactly.
Okay, I mean that could happen, but it's unlikely. It's more unlikely you're going to lose your money. Okay, so I probably should be saying this 10 times in every show. Now, when it comes to the show, we want as wide participation as possible. If we can get people on the show who hate Bitcoin, who hate tokens, I hope you can get them online. Just make sure they're good looking, right? I mean, for the what's called the ratings of the show, right? You want good looking people fighting.
This is how it always works. Whenever you're buying any stock, you always have to go for good looking.
Right. So we're trying to we're building slowly community engagement wherever we are. I myself grew up in Greece, And I'm not 100% Greek anymore after having spent most of my life out of Greece, but we have similar problems in Greece. And then you have other oppression mechanisms, let's say in Iran, because of the political disputes they have with the West. They cannot buy their medicine, let's say, right? I mean, there are sanctions against Iran which include humanitarian aspects.
Yeah.
And Iranians are also now big players in cryptocurrencies because they need them. They need them to bypass sanctions, even though you may say that they don't face the same kind of oppression like other areas like Kashmir. In Venezuela, it's a more mixed picture where it's also, the collapse of the price of oil and stuff like that has made things worse than any politics would than any politics would. I mean, if the politics were horrible in Venezuela and the oil price was $150, then people would be moving into Venezuela. But with the political situation they have and the cheap oil for a few months or a year, or I don't know how long it's been, they also need solutions. So we're all trying to make this community-owned technology work for the majority. That's what we're trying to achieve here. We're trying to make this community technology work for the majority. We're not offering get-rich-quick schemes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us today. And we will invite you again to educate our audience more about cryptocurrency and future implications of that in our next show. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. ख़ातिन हज़रात, आज के इस शो का जो बुनियादी मकसद है और मकसद था वो ये था कि आपको और हमारे जो कश्मीरी नौजवान हैं उन तक ये वाली बात को पहुंचाना कि क्रिप्टो करेंसी होती क्या है, इसके फ्यूचर इम्प्लीकेशंस क्या हैं, इनका मुस्तकबिल इसका क्या है। और हमने ज़ाहिरी बात है सारे सवालात को तो कवर नहीं किया, मगर हम इनके साथ मज़ीद आगे भी प्रोग्राम्स करते रहेंगे जिनमें हम गुफ्तगू करेंगे क्रिप्टो करेंसी के मुस्तकबिल के बारे में। जो सबसे अहम बात जो आज मुझे समझ आई है वो ये कि ओप्रेस्ड जो नेशंस हैं जिनके पास अपनी करेंसी नहीं है जिसको वो कंट्रोल कर सकें, वो ओप्रेस्ड नेशन क्रिप्टो करेंसी का सहारा लेके अपनी इकोनॉमी की बैकबोन को बिल्ड करने में एक अहम किरदार अदा कर सकती हैं। मगर लाजमी बात है चूंकि एक ऐसी डिसेंट्रलाइज मैकेनिज्म से करेंसी तैयार हो रही है और जब तक के हमें तमाम कोड्स और उन कोड्स की टेक्निकलिटीज़ के बारे में ना पता हो, हम शायद ये फैसला ना कर पाएं कि इसका मार्केट के अंदर रिस्क क्या होगा। अगले जो प्रोग्राम होंगे हम उनमें मुख्तलिफ प्रोग्राम्स प्रोग्रामिंग के हवाले से भी आपके साथ शेयर करते रहेंगे। जो सबसे अहम बात है जो आप तक पहुंचानी है वो ये कि कश्मीरी नौजवानान के अंदर ये बात उजागर करनी है और इस बात को ज़्यादा एजुकेट करना है कि वो कंप्यूटर के नई जो जेहते हैं, जो टेक्नोलॉजी इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी की नई जेहते हैं, उनसे अपने आप को मुतारफ़ करवाएं। इससे भी वो अपने ऑपरेशन के जो दौर से बाहर निकल सकते हैं या अपने आप को या अपनी कौम को मदद दे सकते हैं। आप सबकी समातों का बहुत शुक्रिया। थैंक यू वेरी मच।